In this video, I'm going to show you how to add symbols to sheets such as superscript and subscript. First thing we're going to talk about is the Ascii table. It stands for the American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Computers can only understand numbers. Ascii code is a numerical representation of a character such as the letter A or the @ symbol. So you can see here we have a decimal, binary, octal, and hex. These are number systems, and then the Ascii value. So if I chose the decimal number 100, for example, it would relate to the lowercase letter d. So the computer only understands electricity and numbers, so we use these numbers to represent characters inside the computer. Another example would be here, the number 122 in the decimal base number system would be the letter Z on your keyboard. So let's go over those number systems. Number base 10 is decimal, 10 digits. The digits are 0 through 9. That's the one we're most familiar with. Binary, computers are electrical and only understand on or off. It's represented using the binary system with on being 1 and off being 0. You can also think about electricity, that either there is electricity or there isn't electricity. That's how the computer works, a series of switches. Binary numbers are very long though, so it's more efficient and readable for humans to represent them as hexadecimal or hex. So you have 2 digits for binary, 0 or 1, but a binary number will be very long, as you'll see. So instead we use hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is 16 digits. It is the digits 0 through 9, and then A, B, C, D, E, F to represent 10 through 15. You don't need to worry about this too much because it's just for what we're trying to do. You would worry about this more if you're doing comp sci or something like that. So here's an example of the Ascii table. So if I have the decimal number 90, this is what it would look like as a binary representation, and this is what it would look like as a hexadecimal representation, and then this is the resulting letter. These are identical values. They just are represented differently because of the number systems they're using. Unicode is the updated version of Ascii. So Ascii was like early on when computers were starting, but now we have to represent multiple languages and symbols and even emojis. So now we use the Unicode. So the Unicode table has everything. We have notational systems, punctuation. Like you can just read through this, and then all the like Chinese, everything you could think of is Unicode. And I'll be showing you examples of this on a sheet. Strings and chars. So now we need to talk about what strings are and chars are. In computers, we refer to single letter symbols as a char, or short for character, to distinguish it from a number. We call words strings because they are a string of chars. So like a word would just be a bunch of letters strung together, or characters strung together. That's how you would visualize it in a computer as data. We do this to distinguish them from being considered a number by the computer. You can do mathematics with the number 43, but you can't with the word 43. In Google Sheets, you identify a string or char with double quotes. So if you put something in double quotes, it's saying that this is a word and not to confuse it with a number, basically. And that's true for most computer languages. So here is the function char for Google Sheets. So this would be the example over here. If you do char of 71, it'll return the value of capital letter G. So this will convert a decimal number, right? I think it expects decimal number. Yeah, this expects a decimal number. So if you put in a decimal number, according to the Ascii or Unicode table, it'll give you the resulting letter. If you want to use a hexadecimal character, you have to first convert it to decimal because this thing expects decimal. So again, with functions, this is the function name, and in the parentheses, that's the argument. That's the thing you're going to pass in, and it's going to return a value. Here are some examples here. So if we want to convert, you can use the hex to dec conversion function, and that converts hexadecimal to decimal. So here we're saying, what's the decimal version of the hex number A8? It's 168. So this is the formula, or the function. This is the input, and this is the result. And then if we look back at this, because the char function requires a decimal value, if you want to use something other than decimal, like hex, for example, which Unicode usually is in hex, you would use the hex to dec function first, inside of it as the argument. Concatenate. A common task in programming is combining strings to form new strings. For instance, joining multiple words to create a sentence. For this example, we'd be joining our converted Unicode with strings. So you have a couple words and you want to combine them into one single word or one single string, like a sentence. That would be called concatenate. So the concatenate function looks like this. You call the function here, and then the argument are the words or things that you would like to concatenate together. So in this example, they passed two words or two strings, Google and Docs, and then they were concatenated into a single string, Google Docs, with no space. But you could do it with any series of strings, or you could do cell references, or here this is just doing a range of cells. So it's going to concatenate everything in that range of cells between A2 to B7. Here it's going to find whatever's in A1, A2, or A3 and just combine them. Okay, so now let's go look at how we're going to do this in Sheets and why we're doing this. Now I'm going to show you some examples. So in this Unicode, this is just a quick thing I made, but Unicode is just basic hexadecimal value that you would type here. See, no formula, just a hexadecimal value. Conversion, this is a nested function. So we have the hexadecimal conversion function using this reference here as the argument. It's going to return its value and pass it as an argument to the char function, which will then convert it to a Unicode symbol. So this is like a f of x, g of x, f of g of x type of nested function you would see in math class. Concatenation is using the concatenate function with two arguments. In this case, it's just a string, the letter A. Just totally random. It could be anything. I just chose that to show you how it works. And then B3, which is the reference here. It's going to take that Unicode symbol and pop it in there and concatenate it for you like that. So I could show you, I could put multiple arguments. Like I could do another string. And see, it'll concatenate everything. I can make it, just throw some spaces in there and make it a little bit neater. See? So let me show you how this works. The Unicode, I'm just going to go back to this, but I'll show you. So in this sheet, I gave a reference, and you can just look up unicode.org if you ever need to find it. There's two tables you're going to want mostly. So you're going to need Latin. So up here is like a lot of languages. So you're going to look over here for Latin, supplement 1, right here. This is going to have your squared and your cube symbols. So this would be, I'll zoom in for you. So 00B2 would be squared. So let's add that and I'll show you how that works. So 00B2. And it could be lowercase or uppercase. Sheets will accept it either way. There you go, you get that squared symbol. So if I want to change this, I could say like, just make this the letter X. So you see X squared. So you can make any kind of symbol you need for your headings. This would be mostly for like units or formulas inside of your spreadsheets. Here's a cube symbol, and you got any one of these would work. These ones with the dashes around them are commands, like from your keyboard. They will not work. So just don't expect to use those and see anything happen. It won't. But like, here's an example. You could use this this weird symbol 00A7. As long as you put in the right code, it will translate it for you. Okay, so another one would be superscript and subscript. If you look for math symbols, you should be able to find it. Alphanumeric symbols. Right here, numbers and digits, super and subscripts. So here you have all the different ones, and it gives an explanation here with the code right next to it. So like, if I wanted a superscript minus sign, I could do 207B. And I get a superscript minus sign. Let me show you some fun ones. Anything, you can do anything pretty much. Some of them don't work. I found Arabic didn't work for some reason. Anything over like, let's see, if it's 5 digits, it seems to not work. That might just be something I'm doing, I'm not sure. But let's look at, there was one that was kind of cool. Emojis, dingbats. Let's check out what dingbats look like. So you have all these for dingbats. Let's try this like looking 2740, the flower. It's kind of cool. There you go. So anything on the table you can use basically, unless it's 5 digits. So in summary, I've just showed you how to use Unicode to create any combination of characters you would like for your Google Sheets. Primarily so you can use headings for the correct units and things like that. So maybe like currency symbols or different types of variables you'd use in math for especially like physics and things like that. We went over what the Unicode table is. We went over number systems, binary, hexadecimal, and decimal. We went over a conversion function, so like the char function, how that converts a decimal Unicode into a character or symbol. We went over the hexadecimal function about how that would convert a decimal number or hexadecimal number to a decimal number so that you could input it to the char function. And then concatenation. So the concatenate function allows you to combine different things to make a string. And a string is just a series of letters that make up like a word in a computer. Okay, thanks for watching.